Hello, this is Kerwin, and welcome to another episode of Travel Talk. And today we're going to be talking about flight status. How do you know the status of your flight? Let's go. So the status of your flight is something that people are always asking. So they want to know, what time am I leaving? What time are we boarding? What time are we going? What time are we going to arrive? Is it going to be raining outside? All this kind of stuff people want to know about their flights. Now, what the airline has done is they have created flight status. Back in the airline days, there's something that we created way back then when I used to work for the airlines, and they still use it today, except they slightly changed some of it. So now you get more information because the systems give you more information. And when I started, we didn't have as much of the information as you do today, but we do today, inside they show you a lot more. Now, flight status just says basically what time my flight is leaving. Now, just to give you, or what time my flight is arriving, to give you a little background, because we did talk about on-time performances in the video that I did that talked about airline definitions and airline terms. But the airlines in the back end, the stuff you never think about and probably don't even care about is they have something called in, out, off, on. And what that means is in means that the airplane is at the gate and the wheels are chalked. Wheels are chalked means that it have the two little things, one little thing in front of the wheel and one behind the wheel. Airplane ain't gonna go anywhere. Engines are shut down and everything. So that's when you're in. When you're on, it means that you've landed. So what you'll see some airlines will do, they'll put a status that says landed, taxiing to the gate. Sometimes you'll see that. That means that the airplane is on the ground, it's on its way to the gate, but it's not at the gate yet. And then you have we had in, out. We had in and on, and then you have out. Out means that the airplane is pushed back, but it hasn't taken off yet. And so I think I spoke about this before. Some airlines will do, they will just push the airplane off the line that shows when where it stopped, and that means that they're moving. So the time has started, and so they're out. They're not off yet because they haven't taken off the ground. So that explains in, off, on, and out. Is so that those are the four terms. So you can think, oh, and I think that's it. So you can think about this. This is what they use to determine the flight status. When somebody says my flight has departed, what it means is that it's left the gate. Doesn't mean that it's taken off yet, because for it to have taken off, you need to go. It needs to be off. The wheels have left the ground. And airlines have different sensors that figure everything out. The nose gear is really the thing that tells you the on off, in and out thing. So with that little background, what you're seeing is when you go to the flight status and it tells you, yeah, the flight has taken off or the flight has departed. Okay, so what you see is where it says it'll show the flight status and it'll say yeah, aircraft has landed. You see aircraft in flight, and in flight just means exactly that. It's taken off, but it hasn't landed yet. And so in the back end, they're using those parameters in order to program the information that makes sense to you. Now, some airlines have added more things that says a little explanation as to why the flight is delayed and what time you're going to be taken off and things like what time you're going to be departing the gate and things like that. The cool thing the thing to remember about flight status is if your flight says delayed, you need to be at the airport at your scheduled departure time. The reason for this is that the airline can go ahead and substitute another aircraft. Let's say they're delayed because the aircraft is broken. They can substitute another aircraft for your flight. Or they can get, if it's a crew delay, they can get another crew to come in. So don't look at the flight and go, oh, I don't have to be there until whatever time. Because the other thing too is that the security gates might be closed. Some airports have a specific time when they close their security. And I've also been in that situation where I've gotten to the gate, I've checked in, and they say the flight won't leave for another 2 hours because of air traffic control delay or weather delay or mechanical or something like that. But the security is closed. So if I leave the secure area, I can't come back in because security is closed. And likewise, if you decide, oh, my flight is leaving at 1 a.m., I don't need to be there until, say, midnight, and you get there and security closed at 8. You can't get in. No matter what you do, you cannot get in because they're closed. So make sure you get there at your scheduled departure time. That's the important thing, because otherwise they will leave you behind if they're going to leave earlier. I know it's frustrating, but that's how the system works. The information is there so you can manage your time properly. And I think I spoke about my getting left at the airport once because I went to the lounge because it said it was going to leave in an hour. And I went to the lounge, I came back and everybody boarded. And the lady goes, you can't get on, you're done. And so that was it. Nothing I could do, but just said, okay. And that's it. Tools that you can use to get flight status. You want to look at the app that the airline has. Typically, will always give you the status of the flight. You can go to the airline website. That will also give you the status of the flight. You can also go to Google. And if you type in, let's say your flight is American Airlines 1234. If you type in AA1234, it will give you the status of AA1234. It'll also give you different dates. So if you want to go for a previous date, you can actually see that. There are also websites like FlightAware. If you go to FlightAware or Flight Radar 24, these websites will give you flight status. Now, of course, they're getting the data from the airplane. The data is coming from the airlines, and the airlines are sharing it publicly, and they have what's called some kind of program. It's a simplified name for that. And that program goes and interfaces with the airline information and sends you that flight status information. In my experience, the best people to get the status of the flight from is from the airline. Although recently I was looking at a flight with Spirit Airlines in New Jersey. They're going from New Jersey to Atlanta. And the data, Spirit never had the status of the flight, which was really weird. But I did go and look at Flight Radar 24, and it showed me that the airplane left the gate and it almost was on the runway or the taxiway, and then it turned back. I went back to the gate. The status on Spirit never said it departed, never said anything. So sometime in certain cases, FlightAware has more information, or Flight Radar 24 has more information because they're tracking. There's something on the airplane that tells you where the plane is, and once that's turned on, the flight Radar 24 picks that up, and so it's showing what the airplane is doing. But the airline didn't update the data. I don't know why the airline wouldn't update the data, but they didn't. So sometimes, it depends on what you use. But the most reliable is the airline's website. They should always have the most important information. Now, when you're at the airport, don't go to the agent and go, so what time is my flight leaving? You have the information. They've literally posted on the flight information display, which is the other way that you can find out, is my flight going to be on time or anything like that. But sometimes some of the airports are weird and they don't update the flight's information on their boards. Sometimes the flights don't even show up on their boards, which is very weird. So bear that in mind, that oftentimes you may not get the correct information, and don't be annoyed at the gate agent. What I always do if I'm at the airport, I go to the gate, because at the gate, even if it's not updated on all the systems, the phones and the flight radar and all this kind of external system, if you're at the gate, you will know what's going on because the person at the gate will tell you. Now, the other side of that is that sometimes the status of the flight gets updated on the app before they tell you anything. I've been on flights where we're delayed and they're not telling us anything. But when you look on the app says the flight's canceled. And then people are already seeing that or getting alerts. and nobody said anything. They're like, how come it says it's canceled here? And then they came on and they go, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, your flight has been canceled. and so sometimes the apps give you more information than the person standing in front of you will give you. But just recognize that sometimes it takes a little while for them to get the information because everything is being transmitted electronically. And sadly, sometimes the information comes to the crew later than when their systems have reported it to you. So be nice to them because they're the ones that's going to get you out of there. There's no point in being upset with an agent when the flight's canceled because the agent is not the one who canceled the flight. The person who's at operations in the airline headquarters is the person who's canceled the flight, and they've canceled it for whatever reason they have. All that happened, though, I know it's annoying for you, but what you can do is if you notice the flight is canceled, the airline's going to rebook you, right? What you can do is you can try to rebook yourself because immediately as it gets canceled, they run a program and they rebook everyone as long as there's seats available and all that kind of good stuff. But what you can do is you can rebook yourself on another flight because now, since your flight is canceled, a whole bunch of things have been opened up to you, which means you can basically get any flight to get to your destination now, as long as it's on the same airline. If you want to fly on a different airline, which you're more than likely eligible for, you have to call, and that's when you have to wait. So it gets a little, annoying to do that. Remember that if your flight gets canceled, you are entitled to a full refund. Of course, the full refund doesn't work for you on the day of operations. But let's say like 2 or 3 days before that your flight was canceled, then you can probably get the refund. Some airlines will show you the standby list and some will not show you the standby list. Some airlines you have to have a ticket on that particular flight to be able to see the standby list. The other thing about the standby list is there's something called upgrades. So if you're a frequent flyer and you're waiting for a seat to go into a different cabin of service, so you're waiting for a seat to go from economy to premium economy, or premium economy to business, or business to first class, or premium economy to first to business, or to first, and depending on how many cabins of service the airline has, you will be on the standby list. And that standby list will tell you your priority, which is normally based on how much you paid for your ticket and your status, your frequent flyer status, as well as the time that you checked in. Because if everything is the same for two people, then it's going to be based on the time that you checked in. So when you get your alert at 24 hours before, if your airline allows that, check in. Just in case this happens, you checked in, you have the exact same status as somebody else, you paid typically the same amount as somebody else, it kind of comes down to the time that you checked in. There's no, there's no favors. The computer determines it. And so that's how check-in standby for first class. Now, for you to stand by for another cabin, it depends on if the airline allows it, because some airlines don't allow you to stand by. Some you can stand by for domestic flights based on your frequent flyer status. But if you're going international, you have to pay, you have to use points, or you have to use what's called a certificate. So they give you a specific amount of certificate based on your status, and you can use these certificates to upgrade to first class or business class or whatever it is. But then in order for them to do that, you have to put yourself on a standby list. So like when I fly with American, and I'm platinum with American, so whenever I fly, they will tell me that they've requested an upgrade on the list. So when I look on the standby list, my name is on the standby list 24 hours out. So it gets interesting and it's exciting because you're waiting for a seat, and sometimes you see, well, there are 2 seats available and I'm number 3. So it means I'm not going to get it, but then somebody could no-show at the very last minute. And although they're all checked in, you never know. A friend of mine was just on a flight and he was number 3 on the list, and there were only 2 seats available. And so, he took his seat, he's all comfortably seated, and then they go, oh, we have a seat for you. And so, of course, he went and took his seat. So that stuff happens from time to time. But I hope this helps you with standby travel. It's gotten a little more difficult than it used to be. but they have computers now and everything takes care of it. And so you don't have to think that somebody's trying to cheat you, because that's typically not the reason. The computers track everything. And the airline do have auditors who go behind and make sure that everything was done properly based on the rules. So this is Kerwin with Travel Talk. Have a great trip, and hopefully you get upgraded, or the next thing is stand by for an early flight. You make it on. If you got a question, let me know. Talk to you soon.